I visited my father in prison for the first time at 27 years old and left understanding everything I'd spent my whole life being angry about. I had rehearsed what I was going to say for 3 weeks, not to reconcile. I want to be clear about that. I went because my therapist said unfinished business has a way of finishing you instead, and I was tired of carrying something that heavy into every relationship I had ever tried to build. My father had been inside since I was 4, armed robbery, 8-year sentence, out in 6, back in 2 years later for something worse. I had grown up with his absence the way you grow up with a scar, so present it becomes part of how you see yourself without realizing it. My mother never spoke badly about him, which I used to think was strength and later understood was exhaustion. I drove 4 hours to that facility alone. The man who sat down across from me in that visitation room was 61 years old and small in a way I hadn't anticipated. Not physically small, just diminished. The way certain lives diminish people by the time they reach the end of their worst decisions. He had my hands. That was the first thing I noticed, and I didn't know what to do with it. He was nervous. That surprised me. I had built him into something large and indifferent for 23 years, and he was sitting across from me, visibly terrified. He said my name first. Just my name, the way my mother said it, and something moved in my chest that I immediately shut down. I had my list of things to say. I got through none of them. Instead, I asked him one question. I asked him if he ever thought about us. Me and my mother. On the ordinary days, not the holidays people always imagine, just the ordinary days inside, did we cross his mind? He didn't answer immediately. Looked at his hands, my hands, for a long moment. Then he said every single day that there wasn't a morning he woke up that the first thought wasn't about what time I would be getting up for school. Long after I had stopped being school age, long after the detail had become fiction, that he had built a whole parallel version of my life in his head and lived in it every morning for 23 years because it was the only place he got to be my father. I hadn't expected that. I'd expected defensiveness or performance or rehearsed remorse. I hadn't expected him to be someone who thought about me every morning. We sat there for 2 hours. I didn't forgive him. I want to be honest about that because forgiveness isn't something you perform in a visitation room. But something shifted. The large, indifferent thing I had been carrying since I was 4 became a small, specific one. A man who made catastrophic choices and lost everything because of them, and thought about his son every morning from inside that loss. That was easier to carry than the version I had brought with me. I drove home 4 hours in silence. I haven't been back. I don't know if I will. But I stopped dreaming about him after that visit, the recurring dream I'd had for years where I was 4 years old and he was leaving, and I couldn't make my legs move fast enough to reach the door. I think I finally reached the door. What was on the other side wasn't what I wanted, but it was the truth.